I'm 12 angry men. Write it here for the person. But I didn't do it. I just did the various way of acting.
I can't share. I could give one of the participants.
Yeah.
So we are live on YouTube. Let's begin.
Now, who is this fellow? Sushil Kumar.
Sir, these are all the participants.
Participants, not
Yeah.
your colleague.
No. Okay. A very good evening to all the members attending and watching this webinar on the topic trial in real courts versus trial in movies. And the eminent guest speaker of this evening is none other than Mr. Bapoo M Malcolm, sir, Advocate Bombay High Court. Mr. Bapoo M Malcolm is an empanelled arbitrator and advocate at Bombay High Court. Sir is practicing in Bombay High Court from last 14 years. Sir has volunteered in many events like organized cycle races, etc. Sir has received various medals such as Kulpati Gold Medal for journalism and many more. Sir topped the exam for National Commissars by the Union Cyclists Internationale. Besides being in the remote area, Sir has accepted our proposal and joined us in this webinar to enlighten us on about, sir. Let us begin the show. Over to you, sir.
Ayush, thank you.
Sir, you are muted. Sir, please unmute.
Am I audible
Yes,
now?
Yeah.
I've got to get to learn all this. First of all, thank you very much. All those who are participating, I may not they be joining us soon, so I shall be repeating my thanks at the end of the day. But we have to thank Ayush and his colleagues for setting up this webinar in spite of, I believe, quite a few hurdles. Some time back, Anand Mahindra had made a statement, I think 2-3 months back. He says, if I get one more invitation to a webinar, I will go into depression. Why was that? I think everybody had their fill of webinars. I too had my fill of webinars because I was repeating myself ad nauseum. Every time I had to say the same story, hoping that somebody had not heard it before. This time, we felt that we should move away from the beaten path and think of something new. And Ayush and his people came up with this grand idea. I think it's a terrific idea as to how real trials and real trials, REL and REL, differ. It's a very different topic. And I think because of that, we will be now treading a different path. We are not going to talk of law. We are going to talk of what happens in court and whether it is the same in our real life, whether it is the same in our real life and it is the same on the screen, or there are differences. We may not stick only to films because there is the small screen also. And I felt that we might be able to digress a little bit and talk of books, novels, because quite a number of them have found their way into films. Whether the book is a better read or the film is a better see, that's different. but we might be able to touch on a few books too. I am told that there are some 57 questions that have been sent to Ayush. Ayush, I can see you smiling over there. 57 questions, eh?
Yeah, it's many more than that.
That's fair enough. Do you think that we can pick up one question and start the ball rolling with that? I'll give
Yes,
you a
sir.
couple of minutes to look into that question, because if you can ask me one question, I think we can get going. Do you have any question in mind?
Yes, sir. Why trial shown in the movies are so much different from the trial in the real courts?
Ayush, if I were able to catch that throat of yours, I'd do it through the screen. This is a question which I expected everybody to ask. Fair enough. We'll start with that, but it's a standard question which anybody would ask. Now, since I'm prepared for that, we might as well go on to this. In the move, before we go to that, do you people know what a screenwriter does? What is screenwriting? What is a book or a story is converted into a screenplay. A screenplay is a set of pages where it would, now if I'm looking at the screen right now, I would write room with a curtain and black flowers on it, the hero in front with earbuds in his ears, and he smiles. It's a very sinister smile, and he says something so and so. That is screenwriting. You have the picture in mind and you put words into the mouth of the actor or the actress. The main difference, as I see it, between film and real life is this. And I shall read a paragraph to you. You'll have to bear with me. It's from a book called Screenwriting by Sid Field. Screenwriting by Sid Field. Is it visible or is it shiny?
Yes, sir. It should be visible.
Now, Sid Field was considered almost a prophet in writing for films. And this is where the main difference lies. In a movie, there is something that is never available to us in real life. As I read this paragraph, you might be able to understand what I'm trying to say. I shall read the paragraph for you. Direction. That's what. Your story moves forward from A to Z, from startup to resolution. Remember the definition of screenplay, the structure, a linear progression. That means it moves from one point to the other. Now, this paragraph is critical. This means your story moves forward from beginning to end. You've got 10 pages. Now, 10 pages is when you write for the screen, which gives you 10 minutes. Normally, a screenshot in a movie does not last for more than a minute. It changes. So you've got 10 pages, that is 10 minutes, to establish three things to your reader or to your audience. One, who is your main character? As I said, if I'm looking at the screen, I would say Ayush is my main character. Two, what is the dramatic purpose? What is it all about? Now here he is with earbuds. I don't know whether he's a spy or he's speaking very secretly to his girlfriend. We don't know. But it gives an air of mystery to the whole thing. And the third thing, what is the dramatic situation? The dramatic circumstances which are surrounding the story. So in a movie, you have a story. In real life, in court, you have to make your story. You make a story for the judge. He continues, Sitfield continues. So, what is the best way to open your screenplay? And he says, know your ending. I repeat, he says the best way to open your screenplay when you're writing is to know your ending. That means that when you start writing for a movie or maybe for a television series or writing a book, you know the end. In real life, you never know the end. This is the biggest difference between a movie and real life. It's very easy to write a screenplay when you know the end of the story. If you study a very important case and in that important case, you know, after, let us suppose that the case has been decided. You know how it ended. When you read the case in full, knowing what the end is, you can understand the reasoning, but it takes away from the mystery. In a movie, if you know the ending, there's a very nice saying in English, the butler did it, which means that you are telling everybody who the murderer was in the movie. Suppose you are coming out of a movie hall and there's a crowd going in and you shout, the butler did it, the butler did it. It destroys the mystery for the whole audience. That is what happens in a movie. But the screenwriter knows exactly what it is. In our case, in real life, we do not know what the ending is. In fact, we don't even know whether the judge would know what the ending is. The story unfolds itself, and there are many twists and turns. For a screenwriter, it's very easy. He can decide on the twists and turns. We can't. We have to take decisions at that moment. We have to counter arguments. We have to get up and say, objection, Your Honor. This evidence cannot be allowed. We have to be on our feet. We have to be on the ball all the time. So this is a very, very big difference when you think of real life trials and trials which you see on the screen. Now, I presume that people have seen a lot of movies involving lawsuits, either civil suits or criminal matters. Of course, the latter is always more exciting. There's another thing that struck me this morning. In the movies, the actors and actresses are made up. They go through quite a lot of, I don't know whether it's torture or not, but they go through quite a lot of things. They have the special hairdressers, makeup men, this, that, and the other. As far as we are concerned, we've got to comb our own hair and shave ourselves and get ready. We've got to iron our own clothes. Now, this is part of the game which we have to go through. The actors don't. They are ready. They know what they are going to do. They've got the script by heart, which unfortunately we might think of it. We might say we go to court and say this, that, and the other. But at the last moment, you might find that it's either not necessary or maybe even counterproductive. And at that moment, you've got to change track. So if you want to know what the real difference is between a movie and real life, there's a vast difference. One is something that you can never be sure of. The other thing, when you're writing a script, you know exactly what to do. Is there any other question before I go further on?
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
From the participant Muhammad Ashlaha, he's asking, can one become a legendary lawyer by watching court dramas in movies?
Would you be able to tell us who the questioner is? Some details about who asks the questions?
Sir, he's a participant. He's asking. Not full information is available right now, but he's asking in the chat box.
Now, may I know the names again?
Yeah, Muhammad Aslaha.
Achha, Mr. Aslaha, you want to take the fast track to becoming a great lawyer. I don't think there is any such thing. I remember many years back, there was if you will remember, two very famous actors, Shatrughan Sinha and Rajesh Khanna. They were contemporaries at the same time. And somebody asked why one reached stardom before the other. Obviously, Khanna was ahead of Sinha. So somebody said that, well, Rajesh Khanna took the escalator, the lift, while Sinha is walking up the steps. Sometimes it might happen, but I have grave doubts that there is any such thing as becoming a very big lawyer by watching movies. If you want to become a very great lawyer, I think you should keep your eyes and ears open at all times. Recently on LinkedIn, I think just a few days back, we mentioned that you can learn something from almost anything. So if you read a book, yes, you can pick something up from that. If you see a movie, you can pick something up from that. If you see a television series, there are quite a number of television series. In fact, in every television series, which I have not been watching them for maybe 15, 20 years now, but whatever it was, there was always a lawyer, a doctor, a policeman, but a lawyer was always present. Obviously, when you have a lawyer in a series, you add some spice to that series. So you can learn from that. There are some excellent movies which you would watch, and my wife has been kind enough to make out a list of my favorite movies, and I'll read them to you. Just a minute. I have them here with me. One of the movies, a nice movie that we saw recently was Pink, with Amitabh Bachchan and Peter, what was that good-looking girl's name? Pannu. Yeah, Pannu. It was an excellent movie. Then there was Shahid, which I really liked very much. In fact, it was produced by Ronnie Screwwala, and I had asked them whether it could be shown free of charge to every law college so that they would understand what lawyering is. But it was a rather controversial movie. So maybe for that reason it was not shown. But Shahid was also a good movie. Now there are, to tell you the truth, I've been watching English movies for a long time. And we made a list of these. If you want, you can write them down. A Few Good Men. Have you got that? A Few Good Men. Then there's another one, My Cousin Vinny. It was an enjoyable movie. Quite a lot of cross-examination in that as to how the prosecution's case is destroyed by this very, very unconventional lawyer for the South of America. How he destroys the prosecution case. It's nice in cross-examination. It's nice in technicalities. You could learn a lot from that in the way that how important technique. In fact, my very first case was a technicality. I'll come to that. And very similar, it was about a car. Where if I forget, please remind me. Sita Jala, remind me, please. Then there was another good movie called 12 Angry Men. It was a play which was converted into a movie. 12 people in one room wanting to decide on the fate of a youngster, whether he was a murderer or not. That's the jury system in America, where 12 men are the jurymen, and they are sequestered after the trial to decide on the fate of a young Latino. The 12, one man is by Henry Fonda, has a doubt. In the 1.5 hours of the movie, Henry Fonda demolishes the whole prosecution case, which actually the defense lawyer could have done. Obviously, being a Latino, not having enough defenses. One after the other, the rest, it's really a good movie. I think I must have seen it at least 4 or 5 times, maybe more. Then there was Judgment at Nuremberg, which is actually a trial. Be able to say that how does it differ, a movie, how it differs from the actual trial. It was almost verbatim. So what you in effect had in the movie was a reproduction of the trial, which obviously you could not attend. Then there was your Jolly LLB. I have not seen it, but I believe it was quite a nice one. And in fact, the movie became a bit of real life itself, because there was some problem with the name of one manufacturer being used, and they had to cut it out, say apologize or something like that. But the thing that the movie had gone to court rather than the court coming to the movie. There's one movie which I don't know whether you have seen. Uh, it it's a series, and they are available on CDs. It's called The Lincoln Lawyer, and I think that very soon we'll be having a lot of Lincoln lawyers. Now here, maybe movie will descend to real life. Real life will be copying a movie. The Lincoln Lawyer is about a lawyer who does not have an office, but he has a nice fancy car. A Lincoln is supposed to be one of the top-notch cars, and he operates out of the car. I don't know, people who are in Bombay and who are outside the Bombay High Court will notice that there are notaries who, for 8 or 10 hours a day, sit in their cars and carry on their business. In fact, to such an extent that they leave the car behind in the parking lot for the night and go home by train, so that their parking lot is reserved for the next day. It's almost like an office on the street. With COVID and working from home and offices being shut down, I have a good feeling that a lot of lawyers, maybe, if not executing their work from the libraries of the courts, may very well park their car at one particular place and use it as an office. So here again, real life would be following a movie. But if you really want to see an excellent movie, it has stayed in my mind. I'm nearly 80 now, and it has stayed in my mind for maybe 60, 65 years. I've seen it when I was very young. It was a black and white movie. So it's obviously a very, very long time back. If you can see that movie, please do. It's called Beyond a Reasonable Doubt. Now, beyond a reasonable doubt, you must have heard that many times. In a crime matter, usually, in fact, most of the time, there are three ingredients which you have to meet. If you look up the IPC and look up the offenses, there would usually be, it's like a three-legged stool. The three-legged stool is the most stable of all. 4 legs, 5 legs, 6 legs, not stable. But any three-legged stool is stable because all three legs will touch the floor. Now, if you studied spatial geometry, you would understand what I'm saying. The 3 points make a plane. Anyway, three ingredients have to be met. Suppose there is theft. It has to be somebody losing something, somebody illegally gaining something, and being a matter of theft being done on the sly. If it's a robbery, it would be done by accosting the victim. But again, it would be the same thing. You take away something from somebody loses, somebody gains, and the action. So you have to prove your case in a crime court beyond a reasonable doubt. And that is what most defense lawyers in criminal matters do. They introduce an element of doubt in the magistrate's mind. And no magistrate can convict a person if he has the slightest doubt that the man or woman, might be innocent. Now, beyond a reasonable doubt, that's the title of the movie. I think I'll speak about it because I have not been able to get that. I have not been able to get that CD. I have not been able to see that movie for the last 10, 15 years, which I've been trying to. If somebody is able to get it, please pass on the link to me. It's a wonderful movie. I'll tell you what the story is. In the 50s, actually, it comes from another source of my taking up law. At school, I had read a book which dealt with people who were convicted with false evidence out of vengeance, revenge, whatever it might be. And a group of lawyers had taken it upon themselves to make sure that they were exonerated and liberated. Some of them had been in jail for years, some of them were on death row. At that time, this movie had become very popular because there was a move to banish capital punishment. In fact, now in certain states in America, it is still, in some states, it's available to the prosecution, in some, it is not. But Beyond a Reasonable Doubt was a fantastic movie. Because I'll tell you what the twist was. And here, what I'm saying is, the screenwriter knew what was going to happen at the end. We as the audience don't know, just as we, as advocates in a court, do not know how it will end. The story is this. A girl, I think she was a dancer in a bar or something like that, is murdered. And one man who is against capital punishment wants to prove that evidence can be planted and the wrong man can be convicted. Now, who would be or who would have guts enough to become the stooge? So this man says, I will become the stooge. Let us plant evidence so that it points to me. Let us go through the trial. Let me be convicted. And then we will go to court and tell them that this is the evidence that was planted. And because of wrong evidence, you have convicted the wrong man. And the real murderer is still loose. So they go through the whole process. The man is convicted. He's about to be he was sentenced to death. He's about to go to the electric chair. And his father-in-law, who was in on it, in on the whole scheme, is asked to get the photographs. The photographs show how the evidence was planted and the wrong man was about to be executed. While reversing out of the garage in his car, the father-in-law's car hits a truck or something like that, and the car blows up, and the evidence is lost. The man dies, the old man dies, and all the photographs go up in flames. At that time, there were no computers, or you could put it on the cloud, or you could make multiple copies. So here is a convicted man about to be exonerated because all the evidence was on those photographs, it's no longer there, was on the photographs, telling the court that the wrong man is about to go to the chair. And his wife or his girlfriend, I think his wife, because the old man was the father-in-law, she and the man who was convicted are waiting in the governor's office, waiting for the father-in-law to bring the photographs, show it to the governor, and for the governor to pardon him. But then this accident happens. Now what? While everybody is in a frenzy, the convicted man is obviously very scared that now I'll really be executed when I've done nothing wrong. So in all the hullabaloo, he mentions one sentence, and the wife looks up at him and says, "How did you know that?" The fact is that he was the actual murderer, and he had set up everything, the photographs and everything, so that he could be exonerated and given a pardon by the governor, and he could never be touched again. Now, this was the movie. The scriptwriter knew the twists and turns and what was going to happen at the very end. Unfortunately, in our case, when we go to court, the twists and turns, we have to be ready for all of them. So, I forget the name, Mr. Muhammad, what was it? What was the surname?
Muhammad Aslaha.
Mr. Aslaha, have we answered your question?
I think he is not connected to voice, sir. It can be considered as you have given the answer.
Considered as given the answer. Fair enough. Okay. Now let's go to something else now. We've said that we've talked of screenwriting. Now let's go to some books. Everybody thinks, and obviously when you sell by the millions, Sherlock Holmes is considered the detective of the ages. Arthur Conan Doyle, he was a medical doctor. He wrote books with Sherlock Holmes as the protagonist. You know, the fellow with the pipe and that fancy cap and the cape. And he solves all sorts of mysteries. Do you know how easy it is to write a mystery or to write a script for the screen or for the television series if you know the ending?
It might be, sir.
I'll tell you how easy it is. Now, behind me, there is a window. Sweetheart, will you open it, please? There is a window behind me. Suppose this window is left open. Suppose this window is left open. Now I am writing a story of a man with his back to a window being murdered by poison. What do I do? Remember, I'm going back. I know the man is poisoned. How is he poisoned? By 2 pinpricks at the back of the neck. So everybody says, snake bite, accident. But Sherlock Holmes will come and say, let us examine the wound. And he's got his sidekick, Dr. Watson, who's supposed to be the medical man. He's the sounding board. So he tells, doctor, let's go and examine the corpse. And because I'm at a height right now, I'm on the ground floor, and I'm sitting on a chair which is about more than a meter above the floor level, and somebody from behind pricks me with 2 poison pins in the neck. It's poison that a snake will give. So everybody says snake bite. The wound is from the lower part of the neck to the upper part. That means somebody from the window at a lower level has done it. If it were a snake, the bite would be from the top because a snake bites this way. Can you see my fingers? A snake bites this way. The fangs of the snake, they bite this way. So Sherlock Holmes comes up and says, no, wasn't a snake bite. He was murdered. Now see how easy it is. This is the ending. It becomes easy. In real life, it is not so. It's extremely difficult. You also see a lot of cross-examination on the screen. There's a lot of fatafat. Everybody's talking this, that, and the other. Everybody's coming up with smart aleck answers, this, that, and the other. Some shouting. Everybody's ready with what he has to say. The atmosphere is extremely tepid. This doesn't happen in real life. In real life, you have to plan your cross-examination or your examination chief or whatever it is days ahead. And you might get a chance to say what you want, or you may not get a chance. The thing might turn on its head. Maybe a little later, we'll talk about one cross-examination that I went through very early in my career. I was almost raw. Just a minute. How many years? I think maybe a year or two. Must be less than a year, because I remember we hardly had any business then, and we had anyway. We'll talk about it later. Remind me.
Hello,
You
hello,
are not
every.
audible.
Yes. Dear participant, due to sir is in the remote area, so I think there will be a connectivity issue. Sir will not be able to connect. So regarding the certificates, we are sharing the feedback link on the YouTube. Kindly check in the live chat; it will be shared. And for the Nemactive Innovations is in sponsoring us a free mobile accessory, to the lucky participants. Let me check for once. I will tell the name, and the supposed candidate is used to send his or her number on our official email address. This is the just corpus @gmail.com. And the winner is, I think you people are excited for that because it's a good giveaway. Mr. Shahan Nawaz Shahnuddin, the question asked by him or him is how long the movie trial helps in real courts, and I think he is active on the Zoom also. Can you please open the mic if you are there, Mr. Shahnawaz Shahnuddin? Are you there?
Thank you, Josh Karpas. Thank you, Ayush.
Yeah,
I am
from which
glad to
college?
have this
Yeah, from which
opportunity
college
to
you are?
connect with you. I am from Government Law College, Mumbai.
Okay, thank you so much for attending because I am seeing you are writing a number of questions on YouTube as well as on in the Zoom and as well as on
Zoom
YouTube
also.
also. Yeah. Actually, I think sir is back, but the prize has been announced, and one more accessory will be given to another candidate. Do not leave the meeting and also the on YouTube. Sir is back, so one for this event there will be two lucky participants. One is Mr. Shahan Nawaz, and the other will be declared soon.
Is it stable? If it's not stable, then start the video is here.
Sir, I think your video is open.
Now am I okay?
Yes, sir, just seeing.
Am I okay now?
Yeah, yes, sir. I thought you might be disconnected.
Yes, I think so. See, we are in a village and
Yeah,
the
I have
power
told to
supply,
everyone.
but obviously your village has got power continuously. We don't.
No problem, sir. No
Anyway,
problem.
I think it's okay right now. Shall we continue?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay,
Yes,
now tell me,
yes, sir.
where were we? I forget. You had
You
shut
were
your eyes and then the thing
yes.
went off. So I thought you had gone to sleep.
No. It was a connectivity error,
I,
so
I,
I
I
told
understand
everyone that it was there.
the video had stopped functioning. Tell me now. I forget where were we?
You were
I got
telling
caught up
about
in.
that, yeah, Sherlock investigation and the snake bite on the neck.
Yeah, the snake bite. So because because I know what the ending is, I would say that well, it wasn't from the top of the neck downwards, but obviously it was a murder. It wasn't a snake bite. So it's very easy when you know the ending. In our case, we never know the ending, so it's extremely difficult. And as I said later on, maybe if we have the time, we'll go through one of my very first cross examination, which was uh, rather entertaining. Tell me, what other questions are there?
Yeah, yes, sir. One of the participant from YouTube is texting again and again regarding the question. Let me pick up the question. The question is, it is written by I, Anupriya Upadhyay, would like to ask a respected speaker. The question is, are lawyers really so cold to each other in real life as shown in the movies?
That's another thing which I forgot to begin with. Have you noticed that in the movies, no matter which side the advocate is on, all of them are handsome and beautiful girls? Have you noticed that? Except for maybe Charles Lawton in Witness for the Prosecution, but then they had Marlene Dietrich. So obviously, everybody's glamorous in the movie. We do have a lot of pretty advocates. I can't say the same thing about good-looking males, but whatever it is, the fraternity is a little bit closer than other professions. I have noticed that. The question was whether we are cold to each other as it is in the movies. To tell you personally, it becomes extremely difficult to oppose a good friend of yours in court. So I try to keep a little bit of distance. In fact, there was a rather humorous incident once. We had to defend a defamation case. Now, I'm a member of the High Court Library, and because I still consider myself very new to the profession, I always ask the others, even if they're much younger than I, they've been in the profession longer, so I always ask them for help. Any case, anytime I ask them, this is my problem, how do I solve it? A lot of people, they always help. There was one very senior counsel who would always help me, and he would always be available in court because he's always there writing away, studying papers. All the time he's studying and marking things. He's always there. I would go up to him and ask him, look, this is my problem, that is my problem. He's always, in fact, I known him since he was a kid in his senior's chamber. So one morning I ran up to him just before 11 o'clock and I said, I've forgotten my gown at home. Would you be able to spare your gown? He says, I'm sorry, Bapoo, but I've got a matter at 11 o'clock, very important matter. Now, what do? I had a few rupees in my pocket, but wasn't enough to buy a gown. So I asked my client for a few rupees more, bought a gown, put it on, and ran into the court. And guess what? It was the same guy who was opposing me. I really felt extremely odd at that moment. Well, fortunately or unfortunately, we succeeded in about 20 minutes. It was a very big case and we succeeded in 20 minutes. But it was so awkward for me that I did not go to the library for days on end. I did not want to run into the fellow. And I knew that about 4 o'clock or so he would leave. So one day I went rather late. And there he was sitting there. Now, obviously, I could not turn around and go away. But he was so gentlemanly that he got up, patted me on the back, and announced that this is the fellow who took us for 50 lakhs of rupees. That was the fine. So now I don't know whether I should be cold to those people or I should be warm with them. It all depends on different personalities. But it's always awkward if you run into your own friends. In fact, right now we have a case. We don't really have a case. We are for one party and a very good friend of ours is for the other side. We just come to that. So maybe in a day or two, I'm going to call him up and since it's not gone to court as yet, let's see what we can do. But to tell you the main thing, I'll tell you what we should do. Be friendly, but not too friendly, just in case you run into them. Does that answer your question, Mr. on the YouTube, whatever your name is?
Yes, sir. It's okay. And the another question is, I want to take it from YouTube only. It is from Miss Nindya Bandodkar. Sir, what is your advice to youngsters who based on movies want to join law profession?
I didn't get it. Wait, advice to youngsters based on movies.
Yeah. If they like, I think she might be asking. The youngsters are watching the movies like Jolly LB and Rustam and all, and want to join the law profession. So, what's your advice? It will be correct to choose the law profession after watching a movie, or it might not.
See, when we speak with each other, you must have noticed that I stammered a bit when I said 888 3 or 4 times. You would do that too. In normal conversation, we are not very fluid. But in a movie, nobody halts or stammers. The delivery is perfect. If you can learn to deliver your arguments in a very fluid way, each word having a meaning, audible and without any misinterpretation. If you can carry on your story without halting or without having to think, as if you are reading from a book, that would be the way in which you could really be impressive in a case. This you could learn from a movie. After all, they've got the script by heart. And if they don't have the script by heart, they stop every 30 seconds or 50 seconds, and then there's a next scene. You don't have that luxury in court. You continue. Maybe if you're stumped, you could flip over a page or two trying to recollect your thoughts. Or, and this is something you should avoid, you won't see this in a movie, but you'd see this in court very regularly, especially with the big lawyers who very often come to court without fully being prepared. They've got so many cases, it's impossible for them to be fully prepared. And while they are delivering their arguments, they will suddenly realize that they can't go on or that they are going on the wrong track. What do? They'll pick up a paper and say, "Well, my lord, if I can have your attention for a few seconds," or something, "My lord, in my humble opinion," he is he is actually stalling. He's wanting to think. If you do that in court, it means you're not well prepared. In a movie, you will notice that that never happens because they've got the script by heart. So you learn from that, learn from the movie. Your delivery must be smooth. In fact, on LinkedIn, we will come to that later. Your delivery must be smooth. It must be not halting. It must be able to grab the attention of the judge. To hell with everybody else. I'm not bothered with the opponents. I'm not bothered with anybody else. I am only bothered with the judge. As a movie has a critic, we in court have the judge who judges what we are saying. Your delivery must be directed to the judge. Look him straight in the face and speak with him, not to him. Speak with him as if you are trying to explain, maybe to a child. Very measured tones, very slowly, each word proper diction, no garbled sentences, no nothing of the sort. It has to be smooth, which you can definitely pick up from a movie. Now, as I said, I'll come to that. On LinkedIn, I have put up a post about somebody singing paeans to the Wadia family. The script is excellent. It tells a beautiful story of the Wadia family from maybe 280 years or something like that. It really praises them to high heaven. But the delivery is halted because I am telling a story about the Wadia family. Every 2 or 3 words I counted, he could not say more than 4 words in a row. Must be reading from a book, reading from a script. He could not say 4 words, more than 4 words in a row, and that too only once. Usually it was just 2 or 3 words. This sort of a thing you will notice never happens in the movies, and that is what you should copy. Your delivery must be absolutely smooth, fast, not allow anybody to even see. The moment you stop and halt, it gives the other side time to think. But if you rattle on like a train, not a goods train or not a train stopping at all stations, but you go on smoothly at a constant speed, you do not allow your opponents to think. They might start taking notes. Let them take notes, because while they're taking notes, you have gone to another topic and they'll miss out on that. But if you break, if you start saying, but if you break and don't say everything properly, that's not the way to do it. It's on LinkedIn. I forget the title, but it's in the last 1 month. Please have a look at it, and it will teach you how not to deliver a speech. After all, in court arguments, it's a speech. So how not to deliver arguments? Have I answered that question?
Yes, sir. Perfectly.
I don't, Ayush, I don't want your answer. I want the answer from the person who asked the question.
Sir, actually, those who are connected on YouTube, it's not possible to tell here. That's why I am
Then
representing
I'll
them.
take your word for it. I'll take your word for it.
Hmm.
Next.
Yes, sir. Sir, the question is, lawyers are
Yes,
depicted, lawyers are depicted negatively due to influence of movies. What is your take on that?
Ayush, suppose you and I are on opposite sides in the court. If you win, it's very easy for me to say that lawyer Ayush, he's a rascal. वो सब उल्टा सुल्टा काम कर रहा है. I'll spoil you because I have lost for two things. One is I had a bad case, which I did not tell my client about because I didn't want to lose the case. The client had a bad case. I should have originally told him that, look, boy, it's going to be tough. We've got to be prepared for the worst. Let's hope for the best, but let's be prepared for the worst. But no, I tell my client, कथी नहीं ये बात, लेकिन कुछ नहीं, हम लोग जीतेंगे. The client is very happy. He gives me his word because the client is absolutely sure that he will win. And when he loses, I put the blame on either the advocate or the judge and get away with it, or try to get away with it. Now, this is what gives advocates a bad name.
Yes.
It's the fraternity that gives them a bad name. It's I don't know whether you may not have already learned about it, but the advocates code says that we are not supposed to badmouth each other. All professionals are not supposed to badmouth each other. I can't go around saying that Ayush Pandey is a bogus lawyer, don't go to him. अरे वो बेकार आदमी है, वो सब केस हार जाता है. I cannot do that. Obviously, you cannot do that to me either. So, anyway, so another thing I have noticed over the past few years, and this is why most of the youngsters are today wanting internships so badly. There are 18,000 people passing law every year, and I don't think 18,000 lawyers are dying every year. So there's a lot of lawyers entering the profession, and everybody, there's just that many cases. Everybody can't get it. So one of the things why this is what I genuinely feel A few years back, people were talking about how much lawyers were making. It's a fact. Lawyers were not making that much of money. In those days, the professions were either a doctor or an advocate, or maybe an engineer, or maybe an IT guy making money. But after the Harshad Mehta scam in 92 or 93, whatever it was, lawyers' fees shot up. And people started announcing. I believe that there is one lawyer in India whose yearly income is something like 60 crores. Even at maximum taxation, it would mean 40 crores in the pocket. Now, when somebody hears that, everybody wants to become a lawyer. Remember, somebody asked, fortunately, we didn't answer this then. Somebody asked, what's the fast way to become a big lawyer? Because he has heard that lawyers make a lot of money. But like every profession, even a kirana shop, if the kirana shop is making a lot of money, everybody wants to open up a kirana shop and everybody loses money. So here, after 92, 93, when lawyers started making a lot of money, people decided that let's go into the profession. But without realizing that it was getting overloaded over a period of time. And it's going to be difficult for some time until it again evens out and people start thinking of other professions other than law. Tell me, what else?
Yes, the last time the question is asked by Nindya Bandodkar. She texted in the chat box in the Zoom. Yes, sir, you have answered my question. Thank you. And another question is asked by Mr. or Mrs. Pardon if I'm wrong. The name is Bharati Putra. The question is, what is your say over the current trends of advocacy in India, especially Supreme Court being more actively engaged in common affairs in comparison to about a decade ago?
Ayush, it's a matter of perception. Technically speaking, I too am against the judiciary entering the field of legislation. If the judiciary enters the field of legislation, we have seen how the legislation wants to enter the field of judiciary. There is a tussle. And it would be very nice if there were compartmentalization. But suppose the population at large feels let down by the authorities. We feel that we are holding the wrong end of the stick. We feel that we are getting a raw deal. We feel that things aren't what they should be. What do we do? Where do we go? The judiciary is the last resort. So everybody runs to court. Of course, some people run to court for all sorts of things. And in the last, I think, 10, 15 days, a lot of cases have been thrown out. Right from the Supreme Court saying that, look, we don't have jurisdiction on this, you go and settle your matters at home. There was a very nice case about in the 50s. There was some, I think the Gujarat Hockey Association or something like that, they started fighting. So they marched off to the court. The High Court, of course, against the association, this, that, and the other. The judge, before he took up the case, he leaned over and asked the two parties, who are actually contestants. He says, how many of you have ever won the nationals? No answer. He said, go win something and then come to me. Now, when people run to court for this sort of thing, the court has to take a decision, or very humbly or in humor put it aside. But when there are serious cases, now the matter of PILs, I think you must have already learned how PILs came into force. When there is no hope, people run to the courts. In fact, the Chief Justice of India, I'm not very sure of his name, there was a clamor that there is a lot of burden on the courts, cases are piling up. He said that I'm very happy that cases are piling up because people have faith in the judicial system. That's why they come to us. Otherwise, they would be going to dons and gundas to settle matters. So I'm very happy that they come to us. So now, when you ask me that particular question of treading on somebody else's turf, it's only when it becomes necessary, and it should be used with extreme caution and avoided as far as possible. But then there comes a time when you have to bite the bullet. Maybe over a period of time, both sides will agree that this is my, what they call amcha section and tumcha section. Let's not cross swords. Maybe a day will come. A day might come to that. I think it's not that bad, to really tell you the truth. But anybody who loses feels that the judiciary is compromised. Anybody who wins says the judiciary is excellent. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sir. The question was asked that.
How many people are there on YouTube?
Sir, it's 30 plus, and it's 15 plus here in the Zoom. The people are there, but when it was like your connection was disrupted, then I have to say that it might be, it might be possible. It might be possible that sir will not be able to connect. That's why we are just winding up. But in the meantime, you came back, so we stopped. If Mr. Ratna Kumar, you can tell are you satisfied with the answer? If you can open your mic, you are present in the Zoom, sir, please.
Yes, Mr. Kumar. Yes,
sir.
Mr. Kumar.
Yeah, sir. He is raising the hand. You might see on the screen. He is raising the hand that he is satisfied.
No, I don't see. All sir, I see is one Mr. Sushil Kumar who has been smiling ever since we started. He's got a smile on his face, a big smile on his face. And one lady.
Sir, Mr. Kumar is speaking.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Kumar, please go ahead.
Sir, first of all, our heartfelt, sincere gratitude in regards to such a senior person in the legal fraternity who could enlighten us with such valuable inputs. Usually, we all go by books where we read by law section clauses and all.
Yes, but Mr. Kumar, what's your question?
Filmy industry in behavioral way where we shouldn't flat.
What's your question, Mr. Kumar?
Your voice is breaking.
Would you like to write it down?
Yeah, please write.
Our language should be before presenting before the cross-examination and all. How we have to make our stand when representing a case, opponents and all. We really cleared our doubts and also other parts.
Mr. Kumar, your voice is breaking. We are unable to understand. Please write in the chat box. Please write.
Why, Mr. Kumar, if you can hear me, please write your question in the chat box. In the meantime, I'll tell you another story about my first cross-examination. I was hardly a year or so in the field. A bunch of papers was brought to me by a friend who normally, even while wanting to help everybody, would really mess things up. And he came and gave me a bunch of papers and said, if you can win this case, I will say that you are the greatest lawyer in the world. I asked him, I said, have you messed up this case completely? Because obviously that was the case. It was bad. Limitation was over. Nothing was in our favor, nothing. And we had to pull the chestnuts out of the fire. Now remember one thing. Anybody who goes to court, especially people who don't have a good case or who want to go to court for reasons other than they should, make mistakes. It is your duty to keep your eyes and ears open and pounce on those mistakes. You'll definitely find mistakes. There is no doubt about it. Each and every case there is a mistake. Maybe even we make a mistake. Maybe they don't find it. But whatever it is, it's your duty. Now they made the mistake of going to the High Court while the matter was before the tribunal. We pounced on that and got a favorable order from the High Court. The notice of motion was dismissed. An 11-page order in which the word fraud was used 4 times. The plaintiff was fined 25,000 rupees, which was quite a big amount at notice stage in those days. With that order, we went to the tribunal and flashed it. The matter went on. And my first cross-examination, naturally the first cross-examination is always a bit difficult. I'd seen people making questionnaires, but I realized that questionnaires never worked. So here is this tall guy in white clothes, very fancy, very cocky. If you will read, I'll show you another book, The Art of Cross-Examination by Francis Wellman. If you read this book, you'll understand what cross-examination is. Fortunately, I had read it. When Mr. Tulpul had asked me to read it, I read it. Very cocky guy, knowing fully well that my command over Marathi was extremely weak. He starts off like this. मी तुम्हाला सांगतो, मला अंग्रेजी माहित नाही, मला हिंदी माहित नाही. He's dictating to me. Now, before cross-examination, you see all this in courts, I mean in films, cross-examination, fatapat, everybody. Before this, we had to do quite a lot of study. You don't go into cross-examination just with a piece of paper. I'd seen the fellow one day. I followed him. I saw him go into the Sessions Court. It's close to the Bombay High Court, but I had a matter in the High Court, so I could not follow him right at the apartment. Obviously, when a man like that goes to the Sessions Court. So, first of all, he announces, I only understand Marathi and nothing else. Fortunately, the judge was fluent in Marathi, fluent in English. So I told the judge, I said, please, you'll have to translate it for me if there is a problem. The judge agreed. So we started the cross-examination. I said, before that, will you give me 5 minutes? Because the judge had come late. I went out and called the witness's telephone number. The number was engaged. His friend, who was also to be the next witness, I called his number. I'd got their numbers. They didn't know about it. I'd got their numbers. I called him. His phone was also engaged. I had asked for sequestering of the witnesses so that one witness would not know what the other one was saying. These fellows had got their phones on so that the fellow in the other room could listen into the cross-examination here. I said, "Tumcha phone band kara." No. I said, "Tumcha phone band kara, chalu hai." So naturally, he brought it out and switched it off. Maybe he had 2 phones. He should have had 2 phones. Anyway, he switched it off. Then we start with the cross-examination. He threatens me this, that, and the other. While cross-examining him, he said something and I told the judge that this is what the notes, the judge dictates notes for cross-examination. I said, this was it. Suddenly this fellow gets up and said, night, asa night. I said, boss, you told me that you don't understand English. You only understand Marathi. Why are you interfering in an English conversation? After a couple of minutes, I suddenly asked him a question in Hindi. Another mistake. He answers me in Hindi. I said, तुम्ही ना मला सांगितलं होतं की तुम्हाला अंग्रेजी नाही माहित, तुम्हाला हिंदी नाही माहित. आता बघा, तुम्ही या खुर्चीमध्ये बसलेला आहेत ना, ते जादुई खुर्ची आहे. एक 10-15 मिनिट जास्ती इथे बसला तर तुम्हाला जर्मन, फ्रेंच, रशियन, संस्कृत सगळं माहित पडणार. That broke him down because it meant that he was lying. And once you break down a witness and prove him a liar in court, no matter what he says, the judge will be against him. This is something that happens in real life and something that you never see on the screen. Okay. I mean, cross-examination, you trap the witness, etc., on the screen. But this impression that is on the judge's mind, you don't see on the screen. But there's a lot more to that cross-examination in the afternoon, the other way. Anyway, that's besides the point. Has that gentleman written down the question that he wanted to ask?
Yes, sir. Mr. Kumar has written, absolutely, sir. You have provided the much needing enlightenment on the process of law in comparison and contrast with the films. We all are privileged to hear you, sir. Yes, sir, you have clarified us clearly and completely. Apologies for not able to respond back in time since we are stuck in a heavy storm and down south here. And I request you to please tell the author of the book, please, once again, Art of Cross-Examination.
I shall repeat it. Art of Cross-Examination by Francis, Francis, is that, yes, Francis, Wellman, Wellman. And I'll even give you the publisher. It's a very old book. The publisher is, it's a touchstone book. Simon and Schuster. I don't even know whether Simon and Schuster still exists, but I know for a fact that this book is available. Once in a while, you'll be able to get it. It's an excellent book on cross-examination. Yeah, my wife just signaled to me that it is available online. So,
okay, sir.
It's a book worth buying. It's a Bible in cross-examination. I mean, there are a lot of books, other books, even not by Indian authors, but this is the Bible.
Okay, so moving on the further question by Mr. Kumar, please explain about your take on the separation of powers and the three guards of the Constitution and the abuse of law and legal provisions by the litigants.
Everybody comes to court to win. And court is war. It's war by civilized means. Instead of using weapons, you use words, you use evidence. But at the end of the day, you want to win. In war, do you give the soldier on the other side a chance? Do you allow him to shoot you? If you've seen the movie Pattern, it starts with this. No poor so-and-so ever won a war by dying for his country. He won the war by making the other so-and-so die for his country. Do you remember the words? Has anybody seen Pattern? They would remember the words. The movie starts with that. So, this is war. You want to win. Yes. People do use underhand methods. But then, as the opposing lawyer, it is your duty to detect those underhand methods and expose them. And it is also your duty to the court, as an officer of the court, not to use underhand methods. You have to keep your hands clean. You must be able to go to court, and when we go to court and tell a judge that this is it, the judge does not question us. The judge fortunately accepts it as the gospel truth. That is the type of reputation that you must build up in court. There are times when the clients will trap you. They might give you, it has happened to me. A forged document was given to me and I relied on it, only to realize later that it was forged. I gave up the case, returned the fees. But you have to be careful. So not only do you not use underhand methods, but you must make sure that you are not trapped into using them. Please keep your hands clean. If you keep your hands clean, nobody in any court will be able to touch you. So when the gentleman asked that question as to people using all sorts of methods, yes, they do, but doesn't mean that they will. In fact, if they do that, they would lose. And if you keep your hands clean, if you fight a fair battle, you will definitely win. But if you don't, even if you've got a good case, you will lose. And in that case, I hope you lose because you have not been honest with the court. And mind you, the business of the court is not to give judgments or orders. The business of the court, the business of every court is to find the truth. If you will read Mahatma Gandhi's book on his life as a lawyer, he has specifically mentioned this, that the business of the court is to find the truth. Orders, judgments come later, but we have to find the truth. Does that, I'm sorry I became emotional. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes, sir. He has written. Very well said, sir. I think it might be clear. And the another we consider it last but not the least question because we are running shortage of time. The last question from Anupriya. Yes, Miss Anupriya is asking. My question is lawyers relationship same in real life as depicted in the movies is same.
No, I did not get it.
Lawyers, I think she might be asking that the lawyers relationship with the clients as depicted in the movies, we can consider that like Jolly LLP is same in the real trials.
The lady's name was Anushri, am I correct?
Anupriya.
Yes, yes, I see her. She's got a tie on. Miss Anupriya, you will be told not to get emotionally involved with the clients or the case. Fair enough. Don't ever get emotionally involved with the clients. It's the worst thing you can do. But it's extremely difficult not to get emotionally involved with the case. If you are not emotionally involved with the case, it's extremely difficult to win it. You have to fight the case as if it were your own, as if your own life depended on it. Very often the clients will come and give you the files, give you the fees, and behave as if you are a doctor and you are going to give them proceed. They can go home and take the medicine. It's not so. You are not fighting a virus. Of course, the viruses are fighting us these days, but you're not fighting a disease. You are fighting intelligent human beings on the other side. And if you are not thoroughly involved in the case, it becomes extremely difficult. Unless, of course, you want to collect your fees, go through the motions, win or lose. If you win, tell the client, see what a wonderful lawyer I am, what a great case I fought. If you lose, blame it on somebody else and walk away. Every case has to touch you here in the heart, not just in the head. You have to fight the case as if it were your own. I know everybody will tell you that don't get involved, but to tell you the truth, it's difficult not to. Clients will ring you up at 12 o'clock at night because they've had a fight at home. There's nothing you can do about it, but you got to listen. What else?
Sir, as we are
Shall
running.
we come back to the question of movies and real life and real life?
Yeah. Sure.
Real life is easy. Real life is difficult. Right from the time that you get your makeup and mouth your words, which have been scripted for you, all you require is a little bit of a good memory, a smiling face, and a bit of acting. In real life, there's a lot of preparations that go. The clients see you for 10 minutes, 15 minutes in the court, but there's hours of preparation before that. You might be writing a story like a script writer is, but then remember, you don't know the ending.
Yes, sir. Sir, Nemactive Innovations Private Limited is sponsoring a free mobile accessory to the contestant who are watching this webinar. One lucky participant will get this. So if you can call out any name, I have asked various questions with the names like Mr. Kumar, Anupriya, and Nindya Bandodkar ma'am. If you can give any particular name you have thought that this question is very appropriate and good.
Ayush,
Yes,
I
sir.
will make one friend and 100 enemies.
Sir, it's for the appreciation only that everyone is attending the webinar for certificates and some for knowledge.
Ayush,
Oh.
to tell you the truth, I don't even remember the questions. I
Okay,
really
so
don't remember the questions.
shall
I mean,
I shall I?
Yes, you select. Maybe
Yeah.
you'll make your enemies.
No, sir, it's not like an enemy, just sponsorship so that for the appreciation. I will go with Mr. Ratna Kumar Kancharela because he remembered all your books and written in the chat box from the starting till the time, all the books with the names and the names. I also might not be remembering all the names, but he mentioned all the names so that I will also get the names. So Mr. Ratna Kumar Kancharela, if you are listening, please text your contact number on our official email, that is theda.jusco or puscorpus@gmail.com. Please text us. We will deliver your accessory at your place. Thank you so much. Here we come to the end of this session after having more than 50 plus questions, but due to shortage of time, and it's approx the longest session we have, longest webinar Just Corpus is having with 1 hour and 30 minutes. So I, Ayush Pandey, on the behalf of whole Just Corpus team, JLSR and Legal Fumes team, thank you so much, Malcolm sir, for accepting our proposal and providing us the vast knowledge on this crucial topic. Once again, thank you so much, sir.
Ayush, may I have a word? May I have a
For
word?
For sure.
57 questions, which obviously you cannot have over here. I'll be glad to answer them. Let them write to you. Send them
Yes,
to
sir.
me. You have my email address.
Yes, sir.
And of course, it might take me a bit of time, but let me see if they are interesting, intelligent. So those questions, you can send them to me. Since you have
For sure, sir. Yeah, I have written in I have compiled in a single form.
Once in a while, 4 or 5 questions, we pick up and answer them. If you got their email addresses, so much the better. Or maybe I'll send it to you and you put it up on your side. I don't know how it works.
Yes, sir. I will.
It will be interesting
for
me also. I'd like to know
yes,
what sort of questions people ask.
It will be pleasure or to all the contestants and to me also if you will reply such. Thank you so.
No one will feel left out.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And last but not least, thanks to all the members for watching this and attending this webinar. And congratulations to both the contestants who won the free accessory. And thanks to all the ambassadors for working day and night and making this event a grand success. Thank you so much.